always full of good ones. So I think the way that we're going to start is, Anita, I'd love for you to just introduce yourself a little about what you do and, you know, more info on yourself and hi, Reb.
Yes.
Reb's on.
Yay.
Yay.
So
Okay,
yes,
this is
I'm
still really
Anita.
bright.
Nall Richesson is my name, and I am what's called a holistic nutritionist, or what I like to call a functional nutritionist. So it's a little different from registered dietetics. I went to a different schooling. I went to more of a holistic type schooling, and I really help people connect with their food, whether it's you and me sitting here working at our computers, or athletes as well. So I work on both ends of the spectrum of human performance in general, and helping us achieve our best here at what we're doing, as well as athletes. So I love to help both. And I got into what I do because I spent some time in my life very, very sick. And I had to fight my way out of some, I guess you could call them, dark health times for myself. And food was one of the things that really helped me get out. It was probably the biggest thing that made a change for me in my life in terms of my health. So I love sharing that with people and helping them also achieve their highest level of performance possible through food. A lot of people underestimate food as a performance enhancer, and it's safe, it's effective, and you're going to eat anyway. So why not eat properly for whatever it is you're up to doing? That's what I always say.
Awesome. Yeah. So Anita, really quickly, I remember when you worked with one of my best friends, Katie. Huh.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. And so just, it's really cool what you do. And I think that the approach that you take is one that is now becoming more understood by many. And so I think that it's pretty cool that you have a broad scope of understanding based on your experiences as well as what you've learned.
Yeah. 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 I really like to, I do live what I practice what I preach, and I do. First of all, Katie's awesome. I hope she's doing well. I see great pictures of her in her married life and adult, a post swimming life, and she looks great. So I know she's fueling herself really well. You can tell by
Yeah.
her vibrant self.
Yeah. So if you want to get into your story a little bit about what you notice about your body and yourself and your health, and then give an example of your personal experience and what you really noticed being an athlete with your body, how that changed just
Sure.
by merely changing your nutrition and understanding how to function.
Yes. So I am a self-proclaimed former sugar junkie. And and what I see kids doing now is nothing compared to what I was doing. And so I'm going, oh my gosh, kids, you got to stop this. I didn't know how. No one ever in all of my Olympic career, in all of my training, no one ever sat down and talked to me about the role that food plays on my performance. And that was, when I look back, I go, well, gosh, I just wish I would have had some kind of inkling about it, or someone would have said, you would think at like the Olympic Training Center or somewhere you'd have some kind of training, but I had none. Did you have the same experience? Did you get any kind of training?
Nutrition, we had a little bit, but it was very brief. It was
Yeah.
just a binder or something. We got blood work done and everything like that. I don't think that it was I don't think it was anyone's fault. I just don't think they had the resources at the time. Like there just
Yes.
wasn't
Yes.
resources to or understanding of the importance of that as much.
Yes. I agree
So it's
completely.
growing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a growing, we're learning more about it, and we're now just starting to understand the capacity and the power that nutrition has in our performance. And I say that not just speaking of athletes, I really mean that in terms of corporate workers, anyone who's, my brother-in-law is a really famous, talented artist. And it takes a lot of mental capacity for him to sit and paint for hours and hours on end, which is what he does. And for someone even like him, whatever you're doing that you're passionate about, I can promise you that nutrition can help you. That's what I've seen. And that's what I've seen in myself, and I've seen in everyone that I work with. So that's what I love about it the most, is that it really does help everyone, from the, from your age group swimmer on up to your Olympian, over to your corporate, what I call corporate high performer.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's for sure. I think that a lot of us have that experience too. Just changing our diets around and really having to work within that and understand, like, some things may have worked for you at one point, and then you have to pivot it and shift and see what works for you the second time.
Yes. And the root, or the foundation to all that, and what I teach, is getting in touch with your body so that you're really aware of the signs and symptoms that maybe you need to change something up. We walk around a lot of times unconnected with our bodies, and unconnected with the effect that food has. And so once you can get in touch with your body and connect with the way food is impacting you, then you can use it as a performance enhancement.
It's huge.
It's huge.
So I would love for you to start, go for it with some of the questions, and, frame them however you want. And the world's your oyster.
Sure.
I'm just going to sit back and actually learn from you and maybe take notes.
Okay. I have my notes here, so I don't want to miss anything. So the first one is on timing and eating and timing. The question was about an electrolyte centered bar versus a protein bar, and what is the best time to have each one of those. I'm not personally familiar with electrolyte centered bars. And Leon, I know this was you that asked that, and I see you here. So if you want to maybe clarify on that, I know that there's Cliff blocks, there's Cliff shots and things like that. But as far as bars, I'm not really familiar with an electrolyte centered bar. Of course, we've got Gatorade and we've got Ultima and all these drinks that are available for electrolytes. But as far as bars, I'm not familiar with those. So I'm going to wait to maybe get some more input from you on that there. But I will talk about protein bars. Protein bars, many of them on the market are really glorified candy bars. So you have to get really efficient at reading what I call not just labels, but actual ingredient lists. If you pick up something and it says sugar #1, you probably want to put that thing back. Sugar is not conducive to any form of performance. So you want to be careful with that type of stuff, and make sure that you're not just buying candy bars for your kids, candy bars that have a little bit more protein in them. That's not going to contribute to your kids' performance. The other thing is, in just talking about, in the question was in regards to timing, and protein is important post-workout. Now I'm going to kind of run the first question that got posted in with the second question, which was about post-workout drink for 12 and under, and do I recommend it? So there's a few things that I look at when I'm recommending any kind of post-workout or post anything kind of drink. And the first one is that I always suggest that your child is, let's look at their commitment level. Are they committed to their performance? Are they committed to what they're doing with their nutrition? Taking and adding a protein supplement to a non-committed athlete is really not impactful. So that's number one. Number two, does their commitment level have them working out at a heavy pace? So I was in the Olympics when I was 15 years old. I made the Olympic team. And so for me, I was training really hard at a young age, but there's kids that really aren't. So now we're just giving them extra calories. Otherwise, I would say if they're not training hard, they're 12 years old, just go home and eat dinner after practice. Go home and have what I call a power plate formula dinner. And that's my trademark version of what I teach, is the power plate formula, but which is some protein, some carbohydrate, some vegetable, especially the green ones. Those are going to be your best bet. So the other thing is if I had a time frame to say start with protein supplements, if you have a kid that's committed, if they're working out in a very committed way in their sport, which means they have some extra demands on the body, then I would say around 13 is probably about a good age to start protein supplements. And again, what I mentioned with the actual bars, you don't want to buy something that's actually hurting them. You want to get familiar with ingredients and buy something that's going to encourage their performance, not hinder it. And there's lots of things. It's hard to go into it now about like all the things to look at, but you got to get yourself familiar with ingredients, because the bottom line is there are lots of ingredients out there right now that inflame people. And inflammation is not going to help your swimmer. Sugar inflames people. All kinds of different ingredients, chemical sweeteners, sucralose, all those types of things are inflammers. So we want to stay away from those types of things. I hope that really helps with that, but I'm going to just come back around on it. So number one is, does your child have a solid commitment to what they're doing? If not, you're probably just giving them extra calories that they don't need anyway. Meaning, when I say solid commitment, I mean, are they eating like candy bars all day? And then you're like, well, let's take this protein supplement so we can, it's not going to remedy anything, a protein supplement. It's going to enhance. It's there. It's called a supplement in order to enhance something. So the thing that we're trying to enhance here is a solid foundational nutrition plan. That's I feel very strongly about that. The other thing is your child committed to their sport and committed to their nutrition? And then then we've got, for our teens, I say, depending on the child, depending on their athletic capacity, their level of commitment, 12, 13, 14 is a good time to start protein supplements. And okay, so let's talk about that. So when should you take those? When should you take protein powders, and at what amount should you take them? Hi, Alicia, one of my friends is on again. The best time for protein supplements is post-workout, and the ratio that's suggested. Now, if you're a super, super endurance athlete, this ratio goes up, but it's typically 2-to-1 carbohydrate to protein. 15 grams of protein, then you have 30 grams of carbohydrate. Does that make sense? 2-to-1 on that. Now, if you're, like I said, if you're a super endurance athlete, you're going to need to maybe go up to like a 4-to-1 ratio, because they need to replenish those sugar stores way more than someone who just worked out for, an hour or a 90-minute light workout, if that makes sense. So we look at a 2-to-1 ratio, goes up the more endurance sport that you're in, or the more distance that your athlete covers in their workouts, the more time that they're working out, it goes up. One of my favorites on the market right now is Dr. Josh Axe has a bone broth protein, which tastes phenomenal, and that's one of my favorite ones right now. But there's lots. The Vega brand. What?
Yeah, I
Caroline,
think Vega.
I figure you did. Yeah. That's a great product.
Plant-based. Yeah, fantastic. It's a good one. Plant-based protein. Vega is a good one.
Yeah.
But the bone broth one is also very popular right now.
Yes, it's popular. It tastes good, and it's what I call low allergenic. So for me, for example, I can't tolerate like pea protein and brown rice protein. They don't work for me. So I have to have, but yet I can't have milk either. I have a lot of sense, because remember I said I was sick for a period of time. So the more health issues that you've had or have, the more diligent you have to be with the food plan. So yeah, there you go. So what I say about that is you want to make sure that the bottom line on the protein supplements is that it's clean. And by clean, what I mean is that you don't have a ton of inflaming ingredients in it. And that would be things like high fructose corn syrup, chemical sweeteners like sucralose, sugar in general. You want to just kind of make sure it's at least reduced in sugar, and not, I've seen some that have teaspoons upon teaspoons of sugar in them. That's not going to be your best bet either. Okay, so that was on, what was that on? That was all on like carbohydrates, protein. Did anyone else have any questions on that? Did I miss anything?
Anita,
Colleen?
do you recommend a bar, like when you speak about bars or speak about protein bars, do you have one that you recommend that is
Yes.
for both post performance or post practice, and then also just like, I don't know, randomly on a
Snacky.
Sunday afternoon? Yeah,
Yeah.
like snacky.
I really like the easiest one for me to talk about is the RX bar because it's everywhere now, and so anyone I talk with can find those. They're very popular now, and I think that they're pretty solid in their ingredient structure. So the RX bar is good. There's another one called hold on, it'll come to me here in a second. I may need to look it up in my pictures. I'm a picture girl. There's a couple. There's another one that's a little bit more expensive. It's called Go Macro. Those are very good and clean too. I really like the Go Macro bars. Let me think. I know that other one will come to me.
Vega has bars
Yeah,
if
yeah,
people
Vega's
are
bars.
plant-based. And then
Yep.
I know that what's your thought, Anita, on, I know it's pretty easy for parents to grab like Kind bars because they're
Yes.
like at airports and they're at a lot of regular grocery stores and Starbucks and the whole nine. Are
Yes.
those okay?
Yes, they're not going to have enough protein for a post-workout recovery
Okay.
situation, but they're a great snack bar. And it's hard to find snack bars and travel food bar. They do
Yeah.
work really well. And it is very hard to find bars that don't have a ton of loaded sugar. So if I'm not mistaken, I want to say now they're making the Kind ones with like 4 to 6 grams. So you don't want to go outside of that. That is, in my opinion, stick to that 4 to 6 gram window per bar, whatever you're eating. And I think that will be a good range for people to look for in their products. Obviously, if I had it my way, I'd like to say that there wasn't really any sugar in there, but you got to have something that makes, you
Something
got to
makes
have
it sweet.
something. Yeah. And
Well,
stevia,
and a lot of
I
those
love stevia.
Lara bars too, they have dates. They have a lot of dates. They're pretty sugary, but at least it's
Yes.
natural, right?
Yes, good. This is a really good question. So a lot of people ask me this, like, what about natural sugars? And while they impact the body differently than traditional, like white sugar, we'll call it, they are still high in carbohydrates. So if you're a distance athlete and you need that excess of carbohydrate, it's awesome. But
Mm.
if you're just you and me sitting around on our computer creating programs and doing our work, it's probably not going to be the best thing because we're not burning all of that carbohydrate off. Now,
Yeah.
athletes, yes.
Right.
But in
Yeah.
general, people like you and I sitting and we go grab these things like Cliff bars and Lara bars, and
Mm.
they taste good, but they're loaded with carbohydrate, and that is not going to be conducive to you and I or our buddies that are sitting around. I mean, you work out a
Yeah.
lot more than me, though, I think, but for
Well, I don't
me,
know, not right now. Okay, so I have a quick question too that parents may want
yes,
to
yeah.
know is what about brown rice syrup? Because I see that ingredient in a lot of bars. Is that protein, or brown rice protein is separate than brown rice syrup sugar? And I've gotten that question a few times, so I'm just throwing that out there.
Yes, so brown rice, how do they call it on the label? I forget. Brown rice syrup. Brown rice
Brown
syrup,
rice
usually.
syrup, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So it's just another we'll call it more natural sweetener. So it'd be in the same line as dates, maple syrup. It'd be kind of be on that range. So that
Okay.
what you want to do is, yes, Leon, and if there's anything I miss on that, please just type it up here so we can see it. I think I have had it all written down, but if I missed anything, please let me know and I'll address it. The natural sweeteners, they're going to be better. They're not going to get like dumped immediately into your bloodstream. There's a little bit of fiber. There's a little bit of other minerals, like maybe some zinc and magnesium along with it. And that's what makes those different from straight white sugar. And don't be confused, even though sugar says it's organic, that doesn't change how it impacts the body. When I talked earlier about being
good point.
Yes, when I talked earlier about being a functional nutritionist, in my program too, people have a tendency to lump all vegetables into one category. Like we put sweet potatoes with celery because they're vegetables. They do not impact the body anywhere near the same. So in my program, I am specifically separating those things, and you learn how all those different things impact the body. And that's key too. Celery and sweet potatoes don't impact the body the same way. So everything that I talk about in the way that I do it is about how food impacts the body, not just the number that it's written calorically on a piece of paper. That doesn't do anything.
That's a really, really good point.
Yes.
Yeah. Because I know that it's right. And that makes sense, because I think that it's pretty easy to be like, oh, it's just fructose or fruit sugar, and then like eating a whole watermelon sitting down. Which is, in the summer, go for it. When you're splurging, go for it. Of course, there's nothing wrong with it. But I think that there's, I know for some athletes that have a little bit of like sugar jitters or sensitivity, like the fruit can be just as potent as like a Kit Kat bar or something.
Absolutely.
Not that it's bad or whatever. It's just like being aware of like how much of it you're having, I think.
Yes, that's the key, is being aware and that you're not overloading. And carbohydrate is the easiest thing to overeat, because it's in all of our fast foods. It's or I should call them maybe grab and go foods. 13 is the magic number. We started too early. It's okay. It's okay. Don't worry. Maybe, I don't know your kids, Leon, or child. Maybe they're, like I said, maybe their commitment level's higher than most 12-year-olds. And that's okay. Don't worry. There's no right or wrong here. We're just all learning and choosing as we learn, So don't worry if you've already started those things. But I will reiterate that your child should be committed to their foundational nutrition program before any supplements are brought into the mix. It's just not going to fix anything, is adding a supplement.
Yeah.
Food will, though. Food is an amazing, food is medicine. Food is medicine. It so is.
Jinx. It really is. It really
is.
Yes.
So, okay, it looks like we've got those questions on that's a big question, and that's a big topic, and it should be, because of you go to the market now and there's a whole aisle for protein supplements and for bars on one side, supplement, protein powders on the other.
It's so overwhelming. And I think that it's confusing, because what I maybe have a question about too is for parents of athletes, how much is it worth it to invest in these supplements if you don't really feed the athletes with the fuel that they need? Now, I'm sure everyone is, but I think that I don't know, like you said, it's not a quick fix. And I think that something to everybody else is, it's a supplement, not a replacement. And now you see things like meal replacement shakes or replacement bars or replacement whatever. And like, sure, when you're on the go and you've got an XYZ, but like that doesn't replace fuel, and it may help in the quick time being, but like 3 days later you're starving or you're not feeling satiated.
Kind of cut out there.
I was going to say, because it, it catches up to you a little bit. Like it may help in the moment to like have a quick replacement, but then a couple days later, when you've only eaten, like I've had times where I'm like, on the go, and I only eat bars and drink shakes, and I'm just like all over the place. And that's great in the moment, and I'm feeling nourished or whatever in the moment. But then 3 days later, I'm really tired and I'm exhausted, and I feel like my stomach's hurting, and something is weird. And I think it's because I haven't, given myself that proper nourishment. I've only replaced it with things that I thought would be the quick fix. So
yes, I have a really good saying for that. I always say that I teach people how to fuel and nourish their bodies a lot of times. So what you do in the event that you're running around because you're busy for a day or two and you're living off of bars and beef jerky, let's say. I know you wouldn't do that, but that's a standard, like bars and beef jerky and nuts and seeds. Let's just say something like that. Maybe you have an apple here and there.
Right.
So that would be like a standard that I see a lot. And what happens is you're fueling yourself, but you're not fully nourishing because you're not getting any vegetables, you're not getting anything green. And I've done it too. And you do that kind of stuff when you're in a hurry, and that's what those things are for. It's not for every day. And so that's why I always come back to this solid foundational nutrition plan. And then once you have that, and this is also, I wanted to go back on that a minute too. If your kids are waking up and eating processed cereal and Pop-Tarts for breakfast, a protein supplement isn't going to negate that. And so it's really important. It's really important to, and I say that because I see it a lot. Or if they're waking up and eating like some kind of, muffins that come in a package at the store, that's not breakfast. That's probably more of what I call a celebration food. So it's for when you have a birthday party or something like that. So we're trying to really, if you're trying to really help your child and support your child to get to the next level in sport, if they're committed to getting to the next level of sport, you have to look at your food plan as a part of the training. It really becomes part of the training. And Pop-Tarts, processed cereals and things like that are not going to be optimal. And I ate them. I grew up eating them.
Me too. I was Pop-Tarts and Kellogg's.
Yes.
And sure, and so this is something that I think is worth addressing too, is it's like, we have our heroes that, joke about what they eat as like, as like a fun thing, right? Like so-and-so has this many things, or so-and-so's favorite thing is Pop-Tarts or whatever it may be. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, so there's nothing wrong with having your thing that you love. I love Tootsie Roll Pops. Okay. And I don't eat them very often, but I do love them. It doesn't mean that I'm an unhealthy person. But for performance, it's going to be very different. I think, we all have our heroes that talk about what they eat and what their nutrition plans are. And I think that it's important to remember, and this is just my thought on this, is that every body is different. And that doesn't mean that they're eating 10 of those every hour on the hour. That's like a treat. And that's like hey, I'm a human and I'm going to go to the amusement park and have one of those gigantic like things. Like, so there's a thing that I think that, is societal perception that that's like the only thing that people eat or that they fuel off of that. And that's probably not true, correct? Like, I mean, most athletes aren't fueling off of the junk.
Yes. And I remember when Michael Phelps was really in the midst of his thing, and it was like, he eats like 6 stacks of pancakes. And I will tell you this, not everyone's impacted by food the same way either. And not everyone's impacted at the same time. So I had a health crisis. Sorry if I just said that. I had a health crisis very, very young in my life. I was only 17 years old when I was 1 year removed from the Olympics, although I will say I was never a healthy child. I always had ear infections and sinus infections and throat stuff, always. So for me, I was never a particularly healthy child. Had I known the importance of nutrition and been taught about the food as medicine concept and the healing power of food, I think it maybe could have been a different health situation for me as I was in my teens. But, for Michael, someone who's eating like, stacks of pancakes and cereal and all that stuff, maybe that's just not his thing. Maybe, but I will tell you, as he's gotten older, I believe he's changed some of his eating habits, and he's understood. And this is what happens. We evolve, we learn, and we all do that at different rates. So if you're listening right now, I'm guessing that, this is something that you're after. This is something that's important to you and your family. So you're ready for it. Not everyone's always ready to take on nutrition. This is something I learned because I used to try and dump it on everyone at the beginning of my career like 12 years ago. I wanted everyone to have what I saw. And I realized that everyone's in a process and everyone's in a different place in that process. And maybe right now you want to buy, work on that sugar thing at your house. Maybe your kid's ready for that next level and wants to dive in and do my Power Plate formula and take on supplements and really address their nutrition. So everyone's at a different place. And that's when you're saying, nothing's right or wrong. It's just, we're all in different places. And we are where we are, wherever we are when we need to be.
Yeah,
I needed. Yeah, I learned about nutrition. Sorry. I learned about nutrition out of necessity. And now I do it. And now I do it because I love it, and it fuels me and nourishes me in a way that I didn't have when I was younger. And I was very sick. I was very sick for it though.
Yeah.
Someone just asked, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say on that note, someone asked about the electrolyte drinks.
Yes. So let me see what we've got. So electrolyte drinks. Okay. I'm going to be really delicate with this because I'm going to be delicate, but I'm going to be straight with you guys. Many products on the market, especially the most popularly glorified sodas. If you look, some of those products, common products on the market, have as much sugar as a soda, if not maybe just a little bit less. Now, I realize we need sugar to fuel the muscles, certain kinds of sugars, but what they're putting in some of those products is not what we need. What we need is electrolytes. We need to replace salt, magnesium, those types of things. We don't need to add a ton of sugar to that. Now, if you have an endurance athlete who needs, that's a whole different thing. If you have someone who's like going for miles and miles and miles. I work with a runner, and we have dialed in her nutrition very, very awesomely, like to a T, and she is doing a marathon. So we're talking about hours of running. So we can hold in our bodies about 90 minutes worth of exercising of sugar that we need to replenish our muscles for about 90 minutes. So if you're going more than that, then you need some kind of drink that has something in it that's going to help you get through the last half hour. So my favorite brands, let me just go to that. Vega makes a good one. Vega does, and so does Ultima Replenisher's good. And
what about BioSteel? Have you heard of the BioSteel?
I don't know. I'd have to look it up.
I think it's fairly popular now in a couple of health stores.
BioSteel. Let's see.
STEL. Oh. What those of you that are watching, what are the drinks that you're speaking of?
Yes. Give me specifics.
And that will be a little delayed.
Oh, and too, just something to think about.
Advocare Rehydrate.
Okay. I think I've looked that one up for a client before. So when you say look it up, like what am I doing? What am I looking at when I assess something? I'm looking at the ingredients. I want to find out exactly what I'm putting in my body. And I'm not just talking about, oh, it's got 400 milligrams of magnesium. I'm talking about, is sugar the number one ingredient? Does it have chemical sweeteners or things like that? So I'm talking about those types of things that do not contribute to your health and well-being. So, and then of course there's Gatorade. Okay, Gatorade is full of sugar or chemical sweeteners. If it says 0 calorie, it's going to be those chemical sweeteners that I said before are the things that encourage inflammation. Then also they put in, Gatorade is blue because of food coloring, not because of blueberries. It's blue because of food coloring. Food coloring does not work well for our children's brains. Okay? It encourages inflammation in the brain specifically, and sometimes it affects people's joints and other different areas. All my clients have behaved differently with food. So you want to make sure that you're trying to find a more natural product if your child is excessively sweating or working out to an excess. So we want to definitely make sure we look at how much is my child working out? And does my child need an electrolyte replacement? And they may not need one.
Yeah.
Go drink water. Oh, I want to mention this on hydration too. Hydration, the issue of hydration is not, it doesn't just happen, your hydration or dehydration doesn't just occur during the workout. It's actually most important that you're hydrating throughout the day before workout even begins. When you're working out, if you start taking in a ton of water, I'm not saying that sipping on it and having water throughout workout isn't important. It is. What I'm saying is pre-hydration and post-hydration are the times to really hit the hydration. It's not during the workout, because you're going to have all this water sloshing around in your belly, and it's not comfortable. It's not comfortable. It's not conducive to your workout. Have you ever experienced that, Caroline?
Yes, entirely.
It's awful. It's awful.
Yeah.
Especially, oh my gosh, if you're like a runner and you're actually, earthbound, and like us who are waterbound.
Waterbound, yeah.
Yeah, it's awful. So twice a week. Oh, okay. Yeah. So that's a case where you want to replenish. So this is, I would have her during 90-minute dry land. Holy moly. I would have her having something in her bottle as she's doing the dry land, sipping on something. I like the Ultima Vega.
Well, how do you feel about
I'd have to look this
salting,
BioSteel up.
salting foods or putting salt? I know some endurance athletes put salt tabs, or like they take salt tabs for things, which I don't think any of our youth athletes are really doing that. But is that something that, if you're drastically dehydrated for some reason, if something happened, is that something you would recommend, or what's the deal with the salt tabs?
Well, I haven't seen anyone yet that's been drastically dehydrated from sport. I haven't seen it in my experience, because I think we have this awareness now that we maybe didn't used to have on. But I have seen people overhydrate to where they throw up because they overdid it and they have that sloshy belly thing, and then they throw up water, just a ton of water, because it's made them sick from all the working out.
Yeah.
So, but salt, yes. It's important to buy a high quality salt and salt your foods, especially as an athlete. The whole like anti-salt movement really messed up some people, because we absolutely need salt.
Yeah.
It's essential. My favorite brand is called Redmond. R-E-D. I have it here. Here, let me just go, because this is the best way to show.
Go and travel with. That's a great point. If you want to show some of your favorite like things, or if you have an example of the drinks or bars or whatever for them.
We just moved recently, so I'm getting restocked up and we're not, okay, here it is. This is the Redmond Real Salt.
Oh,
This is my favorite. Yeah. This is my favorite because you'll even see in there, it contains more of the minerals that your salt should contain. So you should have a higher level salt.
I'm going to put that in the comments.
Sea salt.
So Redmond.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Redmond sea salt. Oh gosh, I don't have like all of my stuff in place yet because of the move. A lot of people ask me about oils, so I would like to hit on that. So avocado oil is one of my favorite. Coconut oil. Okay,
I'm a big coconut oil fan, but I know I eat coconut oil in the spoonful, and I know that that's becoming a thing, and I think that athletes. So, do you have a few minutes to talk about fats? Because I think is that helpful for performance? Is that helpful for, like, what's the difference between good fats and bad fats?
Big difference between the two. So a good fat is going to fuel your body in a way that fuels your brain. It fuels your capacity for focus. And, a lot of people get like that, like brain fog. Avocado, there we go, Colleen, excellent. Avocados, she said love avocado oil. But avocados are a healthy fat also. Like them, I see people like, I'm only going to have like an eighth of an avocado because it's so fat. It's so full of fat. No, don't worry about that stuff. What we should be worrying about is all of the processed food and excessive carbohydrate that we take in a day. And I mean in the form of tons of breads and cereals and popped corns and popped things in bags, all that stuff. That's the
Yeah.
stuff that we want to avoid. We want to stick with these things that if it comes from the earth, it's going to be good for you, I promise. So now I know someone's going to say, well, wait, sugar comes from the earth too. But we have gone overboard with sugar. So that's a whole nother topic.
So avocados and what else? Like oil, avocado oil
Yes,
to cook with, right? Not to like drink. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. Nuts and seeds are awesome. Eggs, whole eggs. Don't be afraid of the egg yolk. We've gotten kind of scared of that for some reason, and don't be scared of that. There we go. Eggs, the whole egg. Let's see what else. And I know you don't eat meat, Caroline, but the meat from grass-fed beef and pastured animals, and I'm sorry, not the meat, the oil and the fat from pastured animals and fish. And I'm not saying pasteurized, pastured, like grass-fed beef, and not farmed fish, free fish, that are out there like roaming. Those are excellent fats as well. They really help feed our brain.
Okay.
And they're essential. And coconut oil, yes.
Yeah.
They're essential for the growth and development of a young person. Are these types of fats essential?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. I love that because I know that fats are becoming a thing, coconut meat, and there's like shakes now at Whole Foods, like Cave Shake and all these things that are very high in fat. There's like 32.
Yes.
I mean, it's scary. You look at the thing and you're like, oh my God, there's 32 grams of fat in this. Is that going to mean that I'm going to get fat? No, not at all. It's actually a really helpful thing for energy. And I'm not sure why. Why is it helpful for energy reproduction?
Okay. Yes, let me explain a little bit. The ketogenic diet has gained a lot of popularity along with paleo. So paleo is the diet where we eat basically just what our ancestors ate, which is meat, fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, and fruit. And root vegetables. So you can have like taro and sweet potatoes. So that's what a paleo. Now a ketogenic plan is excessively high fat intake, healthy fats with medium protein and very, very low carbohydrate intake. So this is how Alaskan Inuit Indians survived on a ketogenic diet. So we can survive either way. You can live off of glucose or you can live off of fats. Either one is fine, but to get into that like surviving off a fat deal, you have to be really diligent about it, and to get into ketosis is really a big deal.
And it's not good for females, correct? Like females, like just be careful with the amount of, I think males versus females.
I don't like to throw generalizations out there because I know some females that thrive on it.
That's a good point.
Just like you thrive on a vegetarian plan, I'm all meat. I and vegetables.
Right.
I want to, I can't do vegetarian. I was vegan and I was very sick for at one point, and the vegan thing was not working for me, even though it sounded great in theory. So everyone is different, and it needs to be figured out with trial and error. But the reason I tell you about the ketogenic plan is because when you're on a ketogenic plan, you can tolerate those high fats because that's your fuel. Okay, so ketogenic plan has now become popular. People are fueling themselves from fats, which is fine because they've got themselves into ketosis where they're fueling off of fat. But the problem is that people like you and I, who are maybe not fueling off of fat, we're fueling still off of glucose. We now go, I want all these high fat foods that are out there because they're healthy. And now we're just over consuming. Does that make sense? You cannot have high fat diet and high carbohydrate diet in the same sentence. Otherwise, you will gain weight.
Yeah, no, and that's a good point. So, and this is becoming, there's a lot of vegan athletes out there now, and there's a lot of people that thrive off of understanding how to find other alternatives. So, in that instance, if you have somebody that doesn't eat meat, or they have chosen that for ethical reasons or religious reasons as well, and that's part of their lifestyle, what do you recommend for protein or for fats or for things like that, that maybe, we've been conditioned to think that like we only need one thing to get there. So if that's someone's choice, what do you recommend in that instance that will be helpful for fueling?
Yes, the first thing I would recommend is that you make sure you're choosing it because it's what works for you, not because you read it in a book that that's the thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
not a good way of choosing your food plan.
Mm-hmm.
You really have to get connected to your body and know if something's working for you. What I mean,
Right.
how do we know if it's working for you? Well, I have on my website, I've got a symptom assessment list. If you go through that and you're filling out and your number on your symptoms, it's called my high performance health assessment. It's at the top of my AnitaNall.com. It's free to take. And
Mm-hmm.
it will give you a clear indicator of your inflammation levels. If your inflammation levels are high, my guess is whatever you're eating probably isn't working for you. That's the
Mm-hmm.
number one thing that I could point to as far as, is my food plan working for me? Second of all, if you are like a vegetarian by choice and it is working for you, I've just met a lot of vegetarians that are committed to it out of the theory of it and the idea of it or the moral of it, but it's not working for them. Their hair's, I have clients that have come to me, their hair's falling out. It's like, okay, that's different.
So
we
what if
want to make sure.
What if it is working for them though?
Yes. So if it is working for you, I just want to make it clear that you have to, no matter what food plan you're trying out,
Mm-hmm.
if you're not feeling great on it, it's not working for you. If
Yeah.
you're waking up after 15 hours of sleep with dark circles in your eyes and you're not feeling good, it's not working. So, okay, once you find the plan that's working for you, and if vegetarian seems to be it, then you want to just make sure you've got to get your ratios. My guess is, for me personally, I think that what I've seen in my business is that people who a vegetarian diet works for can tolerate a little more carbohydrate in their food plan than, say, I can. Carbohydrate in excess really affects me, especially grains. I can't tolerate grains very well.
Yeah.
So if it does work for you, you may be able to tolerate a little bit more. So as long as you're eating those combinations that you know of, rice and beans together, peas and rice, and you're getting those in a way that's fueling you, and you feel like you're making it through your workouts and you're making it through your day without energy, then that's working for you. But you do want to make sure you're making those combinations properly. And there's about 1 million of those,
Yeah. There's so many options. And I think you hit a good point about what works for you. It's like, how do you know what works for you? And I think the trial and error thing is definitely, it's important. And I think it's also good to note too, for a youth athlete, that their bodies are going to change, like their bodies are going to change as they get older. And, things may, like what we talked about earlier, Pop-Tarts used to work for me when I was 15. If I had a Pop-Tart now, I would literally crash and burn in 2 seconds. Like I would be like, ah, and then I'd die. And so that's just me, because granted I'm older now, but when I was competing, even as I was older throughout my professional career and in college, I was eating like so differently than I ate when I was 12, So I think it's very important for people to understand that whatever they have going on now, it's important every year to reassess, I think, what you're putting in your body. Is that right? Or your body changes.
Yeah.
It's not like quick fix and then you're good to go for the rest of your life.
I'm perpetually just looking at, we have a saying in our house called food first. And if anyone is off in any way, or let's just say someone gets sick frequently or something happens, that's rare, but whatever it is, if someone gets sick, we go, okay, like, did you eat a bunch of crap at school? And we start looking at food first, and then it's not always the thing, but I'm going to tell you, 9 out of 10 times it's the thing. And I can pinpoint, my boy will say, oh, I was at school and someone brought in a bunch of candy the other day and now I have a cold. We know that sugar lowers our immune response. Sugar stresses our immune system. And when that happens, we're subject to to an onslaught of things that we come up against in society, just all the different bugs and stuff out there. So we want to make sure, sorry, girls, just joining this trigger. Okay, so we want to make sure that we're always just going, okay, is just having a pulse. I'm not saying get obsessed with what you eat, but just have a pulse on what you're eating so that you can, you know, if it's working or not. And that's different for everyone. I'm always checking in with it because it's that high of a priority for me. And I've taught my kids to be that way as well.
That's great.
Yeah. Someone had asked about milk. Did you see that one?
Yes, the dairy one. Yes.
Someone asked earlier, I'm sorry, about like performance enhancement type stuff, but I don't remember
that
what
was like that was a spam. I deleted it.
Okay. Got it. Okay.
That was like a robot situation. Immediately will get that from time to time. I think it's easy for anyone to join into these. So it wasn't anybody we know.
That's so funny. Okay. I wouldn't even know the difference because I don't understand how all this works. Okay. So let's go back to milk. I am super passionate about this topic, and I wrote a really, really detailed, it's like 6 pages blog where you can I have an extra download on it and everything because I didn't want to overwhelm people with too much at the beginning. But if you go to my website, AnitaNall.com, I break down in my blog section. It's free. You can go get the blog and check out how I break down milk because I can't possibly break it down here in like 1 minute. But what I will tell you is that humans were the only mammals that drink another mammal's milk, A, and B, it creates a lot of inflammation in the body for a lot of people. Sinus infections and ear infections. If you have a kid that is plagued by that type of stuff, sinus, ears, sinus, and throat, all of this, I get them off dairy like that. And if you want to know, well, wait, what about calcium and all that? Go to my blog and read all about it because we don't need it to survive. I have my son is almost 15. He's 6'2", and he's never had a glass of cow's milk. So we don't need it. And his dad's 5'10", and I'm 5'7". So it's not like it's just genetic.
Yeah, and my mom is on here now. So and she can vouch for this. When I stopped drinking dairy, and I'm very different than my brothers, but I got to college and I started breaking out and I was having infections and I was having like crazy breakouts in high school and just very deep, reactions. And I was getting sick easily, like colds, and I was on Z-Packs all the time, and I took it out and I told her, I don't think I've actually, knock on wood, had any sort of like allergy or cold or anything like that ever since I've taken dairy out. Now, I did turn out to be allergic to it, so everyone's different. However, that did help me. Not saying everybody has to do that. I'm just giving a personal experience for me, and replacing it with high-fat nut milks and things like that was really helpful for me to keep the fat on and things like that.
My suggestion would be in the milk alternatives. My 2 favorites are almond and coconut, and I would always stick with the unsweetened ones because those can be just as sugared up as anything. Now that they've become mainstream and popularized, we're making them into chocolate with a bunch of sweetener. Actually, one of the almond milk brands makes a chocolate one that's unsweetened, and I use a little bit of vanilla stevia in it, and it's so great. It's like kind of reminds me of, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't really remember what, but it's really good. Colleen, yes, you were so inflamed. You changed your diet drastically and feel so much better. It's bloated and crabby, eat junk. It's so true. You are what you eat. And then it's a great job making that connection and making those changes. It's not always easy, but once you do, the reward is so worth it that you get from feeling good. Who doesn't want to feel good? When you go to work every day feeling like crap, or you're plagued with migraine headaches, that's a big one that I help people with. I've seen a lot of migraine headaches. And I'll tell you this too, Caroline, I see more and more kids, younger and younger, coming up with these problems like eczema, migraine headaches, all kinds of health issues that I'm seeing younger and younger in kids. And I really believe it's because of the way that we're feeding our kids, and we're fueling them, we're overfueling them and undernourishing them.
Yeah. It's a good point.
Yeah.
Someone looped back in real quick on the bars. So if they missed it earlier, we talked about the energy bars, and the low sugar bars. But we did all that, and it'll be a lot. We'll have it on the page to like rewatch it, but we did a big segment on that for the bars. So it was Tara. Great question. There's so many bars out there that are glorified candy bars. And so Anita did do a big thing at the very beginning of that. You can watch again too.
Yes. Yes. There was 2 other questions. How much time are we going today?
We were going to go until noon, but
okay,
we
perfect.
want to, address all the questions that you have.
Yes. Okay. So we might go a little over. I hope it's okay. You know, I get fired up about this stuff, so I'm excited. Okay. So we have pre, during, and post meet fueling. So this is good. Someone had asked this in the question section, one of the parents. And the biggest thing that I can suggest is that you have to develop a ritual and routine for your pre-game, during, and post. So what I mean by that is nutrition doesn't happen at the event. Optimal, let's call it optimal nutrition, does not happen the day of the race. It is a process, it's a commitment, and it's something you're creating a solid foundation on all this time leading up to the event, and then boom, you've got your big event. So nutrition, it's really important that you put attention onto your nutrition. Hi, Nicolas, hola. That you're putting optimally nourished before they have the big thing. Then when we get to the event, it's not like, okay, today we're not going to have French fries. It doesn't make any sense. Don't change your patterns and your ways of doing things the day of or the day before the event. That's not going to contribute to anything but probably gas, bloating, and diarrhea. And I know this because I lived it myself when I was swimming. Caroline, how many times did you go to a swimming and you're like, I'm going to eat salads because I'm really, I'm at the event. Did you do that? I did it all the time.
No, I didn't. I wasn't.
You're smart.
I was not. Yeah. I actually, when I was like ate triple at performance events just because I I was always I enjoyed eating the food, but I was a very clean eater. So I remember,
okay.
I was a weirdo. I was like a super nerd for nutrition as I was competing.
So great though that you got that early on. I mean, I didn't. And so when I went to a meet, I thought all of a sudden, now's the time. And then I'd change the way I eat, and then I'd be in the bathroom the whole time before my competition, before the biggest competitions of my life, and I'm stuck in the bathroom. So that, and I see that a lot. So that's one thing I can say do not do. As far as pre-race, what I suggest is my Power Plate formula. So you want to make sure that you have some protein, a good dose of carbohydrate. We know that we don't have to over carbohydrate like we used to think we had to do. And maybe if you're going into a marathon, you're going to add in a little bit more carbohydrate than you would on a regular day. And then, some vegetables and then some healthy fats, of course, always the healthy fats. So that's pre-race. And when I mean pre-race, I mean like maybe the night before. And then the morning of, you've got to develop a system for the morning. So it's all based on timing. If you're performing at 10 a.m., if you get an average time of when you're performing, then you want to make sure that you're getting up and eating a solid breakfast at 6, because then you have all this time to actually digest and utilize the food. So you want to make sure that the timing is even more important than the what, in my perspective. And then let's say you're sitting around at a swim meet and you need something. The best thing it's going to be is in liquid form because you can digest it quicker. You don't want to be eating stuff that's really high in fiber and starch because it's hard to break down. So you want to make sure that we're doing things during I always say like a protein shake actually during that time with a good dose of carbohydrate in it would be something good to have by your side to sip on throughout the day while you're waiting in between races. Otherwise, a sweet potato is really awesome. I know that sounds so weird to like be carrying your sweet potato, but they work really well for this. They're easy on the gut.
Mash it up.
Yeah, you just, cook it kind of hard, and then you can bake it for a long time, and then you just put it in a bag and it goes. Then post-meet, you want to refuel. And I always use my Power Play formula again. You want to refuel with the Power Play formula. So let's go over it. It's some healthy carbohydrate. Some healthy fats, some protein, some form of protein, a starch of some sort, and then some kind of vegetable, like preferably green.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, if you're not eating that on the regular, then don't go doing that at the swim meet, because it's really gonna come back on you, because you're gonna end up in the bathroom if you're not used to that level of vegetable intake. Okay, so that's for fueling somewhat there for me. And then taper nutrition was another question. I don't change any of my clients' food, meaning the what they eat during taper. Now, they may eat less because they're not training as much. So that's the only thing, in my opinion, that will change. The what is going to be basically still the same. It's always the same, because we know that certain things fuel us: healthy fats, proteins, starches, and eating them in their most whole food form possible. That's another thing to really look at. Whole foods will be the thing that you want to shoot for, not processed or packaged.
Sometimes baby food. Like I know in my post swimming career, we did baby food, like sweet potatoes in the baby food form, or like there's certain things that are low sugar, but like, or sometimes bananas, when you're in competition, a banana mashed up, like it's easy to throw them in your bag, and it sounds really ridiculous, but they're so easy to, and they taste fine as long as they're the natural, organic, or whatever kind that aren't bad for you. So
and they digest easy. If you can get something in, someone just said house donuts.
Jimmy Tierney, Howard Donuts. Why are you afraid of glorified bagels, or?
Here's my saying to donuts will fuel you. They'll give you a great sugar rush and then a dump, but they will not nourish you.
Yeah. They're a good Sunday treat.
Yeah. And I even use the word, I think I said it earlier, I like to use the word celebration food, because I don't really think that we treat ourselves with food. It's not, I feel like crap if I eat a donut. It's just not a treat for me. So I had to decondition myself, is that a word, to thinking of food as treats. This is just something for me I've seen with kids. When we talk about food as treats, it makes the green stuff the bad guy. Does that make sense? Like if that's the treat, so that's how we condition kids to think of food as treats. And then the like really, really good stuff for us becomes I don't want to eat that. I want my treat.
Anita, Lori, one of our new friends, said, what about eating pasta before a meet? What's your view on pasta before big meets? Because I know that's like a really big pastime as well, right? Like pasta, carbo load, or whatever it is. Like,
yes, it really is. Pasta is a form you can choose. It's not my whole food. I prefer whole food sources like rice, quinoa, and potatoes and sweet potatoes. Those are better choices to me than pasta, but it's not the worst thing you could eat, but in my opinion, there's better.
Brown rice pastas, or like brown rice pastas and lentil pastas, like all the things that are very popular, trending right now.
Yeah. I like them. I like a lot of them. I like getting that variety in the diet and mixing it up. So I would definitely go that route. And if you are going to eat pasta, I definitely suggest gluten-free. If you want to really kick up your health and get your inflammation down, I would go the gluten-free route and get some of those more alternative pastas. Of course, you've got to do that fully. To get the full benefit, you've got to do it fully. You can't just go buy the lentil pasta and go like, I'm gluten-free. It's a full lifestyle thing also. But it really, for a lot of people, it really does decrease inflammation.
Awesome. And someone asked again about the vegan options while training.
Vegan options of what?
Yeah. Is
Vegan
it
options.
Carita or Charita? Vegan options. Maybe I was thinking maybe more, Anita, quick things to grab, maybe on the go or
Oh, quick vegan snacks or something
yeah,
like that.
sure. Start with
Okay.
that. Yeah. Some things that
Gosh, I
are
gotta think
easy. You
about
know,
that.
sweet potatoes are a good one, just like we talked about.
Yeah.
That's a
Yes, for
huge
sure.
one. Yeah.
Chickpeas, chickpeas
Hummus
are good.
and
And
yeah.
then hummus, a healthy fat would be olives. I love olives as a healthy fat. I forgot to mention those earlier.
Oh,
Um, yeah, olives are really a great healthy fat. And don't worry about the sodium in them because that's
yeah.
not the thing that's going
Yeah.
to take anybody out. It's the processed stuff that
Mm,
will. Co-
coconut water.
so I think more on coconut. Coconut. If I had one food to pick, if I was stuck on an island somewhere,
Me too.
it'd be yeah, it'd be
I
coconut
literally
for
eat
sure.
coconut
So
oil by the spoonful every day.
so as a vegan, I would definitely focus on the coconut oil, coconut butter, coconut shreds, but not the sugared ones. Someone asked about coconut water. So yes, it's fine to drink if you like it. I personally don't like it, but if you like it, go for it. Just make sure that it's not a brand that's like loaded with extra sugar. Oh my gosh, I keep pulling my phone down. So make sure it's not loaded with a bunch of extra sugar.
Awesome. Cool. Lori, that was a great question on the pasta too. And oh, wait, she had a good one. What do you do when your teenager is so picky?
Okay. Well, you've got to recondition their taste buds. So
Mm,
they probably got picky over time because they didn't get their taste buds conditioned, and they have maybe now a craving, or what I call a high aptitude for maybe sweets or whatever their thing is. I don't know what
hmm
it is in particular that they crave or want. And for that, my resolution to that is to talk about, well, they're teenagers, so they can start talking about their goals. And if
hmm
they really start to see that that if they can link their goals to and in performance to the food that they eat, then you have to help them do that. If they're really driven to succeed, they'll start to want, and you say like, okay, we've got to start opening up your food plan here. We've got to get you more nutrients so you're optimally fueled and nourished. And that's a conversation. That's just a conversation that you have to have with that child if they want to be optimal. That's my
hmm
opinion on that.
hmm
Also, because I will make it very clear, I am not a short order chef. I do not short order chef to anyone in this house. What I make is what I make. And I suggest all of you moms out there listening do the same thing. It will
Yeah.
give you sanity. You cannot be cooking for, I'm sure when they're like 2 years old, it's one thing to do that. But what that looks like is a 17-year-old that's picky and irritating to be around and doesn't want to, and you don't have a community of food. Now you've got this guy doing this thing and this one doing this thing. So you want to get everyone on the same page, and you guys want to all talk about food as it relates to your performance in life.
Yeah. And then I think we'll do one more question, then we'll wrap it up, and we can always open it up for further connection with you if you're
Yes.
interested in that. But I think this is a great one, the almond butter versus peanut butter or any of the
Okay.
butters, because I know
Yeah.
those are so easy in the packets now. And
Yeah.
it's like is it a quick snack? Are there sugars added? Like, what does it look like? Me personally, I'm also interested.
Yes. So the difference between the two, let's just break it down real quick. So peanut is a legume. So it's in the same family as like lentil or
Mm,
black bean. So it's a legume. It's not a nut, even though it's called peanut, which is so crazy.
mm,
Then we've got almond, which is a tree nut. So we have two different types of things here. Both of them have nice healthy fats in them. Both have some protein. So they're awesome in that way. Both of them also can get highly processed and a lot of sugar added. So you just want to make sure you're reading ingredients and checking out that you're buying the most optimal one. I don't really differentiate between the two. I will say that in terms of functional and more holistic side of things, peanuts can carry I always get confused if it's a bacteria or a fungus it's an aflatoxin, and it's not, it can really exacerbate health issues in some people, especially those who are sensitive to it. I think it's a fungus. And so don't eat peanuts for that reason. So because they don't want to potentially be ingesting, and even the organic ones, you cannot distinguish peanuts that your peanut butter was not like the company's testing for it. It's not something you can see visually. So that's why a lot of people avoid peanuts. Also, people on a paleo diet avoid peanuts because they are a legume, and on the paleo diet we don't eat legumes. So and because peanut is a legume, it can cause gastro disruption in those who are sensitive to legumes. So just information to look at. It's not that one's better or less than the other. It's just, again, connecting with which works for you, maybe one doesn't.
That's a great point.
Are you there?
I always forget. Yeah, I think there's like a weak connection, but I always forget that it's a legume. I'm like, oh, it's a legume. Cool, great. And those are those two options are across the board. I mean, peanuts are a legume, obviously, if you're on the paleo or whatever, but across the board, right? And what about like cashew butters and sunflower seed butter and
So same thing, just read the ingredients. Yeah, read ingredients and make sure that they're high quality.
Awesome.
Can you hear me?
Okay,
Are we still connected?
Let's wrap this. Yeah, I think so. I think the connection's good, but we'll wrap this up here.
Okay.
Because that's what
The connection's not good, Caroline. Okay. Yeah, but
a little bit.
I've got like double feed going on or something crazy.
Oh, no worries. I was just going to say we'll wrap it up here, but I was just going to say, do you want to let them know where they can find you and any other information about you?
Yeah, sure. Anyone who wants to contact me, you have any questions about anything? Is it cutting out? Can you hear me?
Yeah. And so with
okay.
Rise,
so if you want to,
fine, yeah.
Okay, if you want to reach out to me with questions or see if my program's a good fit for your team, I do provide discounts for group rates for teams as well. Not to be confused with teams, individuals versus group program. Just, you can find me at AnitaNall.com, or you can email me at Anita@AnitaNall.com. That's the best way to get in touch with me.
Yeah, and so that you guys know, with our Rise program, we don't specifically work on nutrition with our sessions. We work on mindset training. Nutrition and sleep and quality of life is very essential for performance, and so we realize we have ask myself or anyone else of one of our Rise Olympians, and they'll connect you to Anita as well. So thank you guys, and if you have any further questions, drop them on the parent. Anita, thank you so much. It was a lot of fun and valuable information.
Thank you, Caroline. Oh, no. You keep cutting out. I just want to make sure before we hang up, I say thank you for having me. And the work that you guys are doing with teen athletes is so awesome. And I wish I would have had a mentor like you guys provide when I was younger. And swimming, I think it would have been so amazing to have. So thanks for doing what you guys do.
Yeah, and thank you. I was saying, if you can hear me now, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I was thanking you, and then saying that in our program we refer people to you should they have a nutrition questions and information and things like that. So thank you so much. This was really valuable.
Yes. Thank you. It's been fun.